Amidst continuing community protests that often turn violent in Delmas and Mpumalanga, local businesses say they are under siege.
And they blackmail or a business into agreeing to give them tenders, to agreeing to use them as suppliers.
Politicians are accused of instigating protest and extorting businesses into providing finances or tenders under duress.
We just try and get their attention, because if we are talking to them, they never give us that attention. So we go to them and ask for their attention.
Have communities lost patience, or are politicians bullying business? The town of Delmas falls within the Victor Kanye municipality in Mpumalanga. It is rich in coal, agricultural industry and related services, but despite this, businesses are surrounded by poverty, with a high number of the area's adult population being unemployed and struggling to survive. Often, there are sporadic protests against one of the businesses in Delmas, with locals demanding employment or tenders for various services. Sometimes, vehicles are burnt and access to workplaces are blocked. This footage was taken earlier this year when locals protested against a local business. But who is behind these protests? Opa Mtombeni is a 25-year-old man from Delmas who dreams of working in the mines. Like many of the local youth, he is unemployed and unskilled. He says recently he was assisted to acquire his Code 10 driver's license, which makes him more eligible to work in the mines.
Since ngaqala ukufuna umsebenzi sekuyi 5 years. 5 years saze sajona ilokhanje iPret. Kwaba yiyo esincedayo iningi lethu la eDelmas. Noma singajonanga sonke iPret. Ngoba abantu angithi abathanda into ezifanayo. Ngoba uyabona manje kukhona inhlangano ezihlukahlukene, hayi ukuthi bonke abantu basenhlanganeni eyiwani. Mara since siqalile nePret this year January, siqale nge-4 January, sagijima nayo iPret. Okay, njengoba bese sigijima nayo, kwatholakala ukuthi sesibhalela amakhampani amakhampani akhona la eDelmas ukuthi sicela ukuthi basisupport mhlambe ngokuthatha ama-ADT nama-license.
Opa says that since he joined a group called People for Radical Economic Transformation, or PRET, he sees progress in his life.
Kwamanje usapotayo awubaba nakhona uyathengathengisa ishiwe yabo. Awuye kuphela vele ngapha kasebenzi. Kunzima kahle kahle. Njengoba besawacela nalama mine. Kunzima. Lemasocala ngathi mhlambe sekuyaliwa. So ngoba sesiyabona ukuthi vele manje sekunzima sesilambile.
Many of PRET's members are unemployed youth. The group is mainly accused of organizing protests against businesses in the area, including mines and other sectors, making demands and forcing them to grant tenders as well as meet various other financial demands they make. An internet search reveals alleged links between PRET and the Deputy President David Mabuza, whom some allege started this group when he was still the Mpumalanga Premier. But Mr. Mabuza's office denies any relationship with PRET, but says he is familiar with the organization, which presented itself as advocating for the economic inclusion of unemployed youth in Mpumalanga. They say PRET approached the provincial government to address their plight of unemployment and their exclusion from opportunities like mining. Further, Mr. Mabuza then encouraged PRET to raise their issues within the available platforms and were encouraged to pursue other opportunities such as manufacturing of construction materials. Mr. Mabuza's office also says he is unaware of the allegations of PRET blackmailing local businesses. A local entity that calls itself the Delmas Community Chamber and claims it represents local businesses and individuals says PRET is an entity whose status is not clear.
They don't have a constitution, they don't have objectives, that was given to them by the authorities. So I don't know who they are. All I know is we can't allow people to just come and disrupt our communities. But as far as my general knowledge is concerned, Pret never meant to be aggressive. It's hard work to make sure that other people also get economic benefits. It's very hard work. And I understand the situation they want to achieve, but not in this way.
But local business says Pret has become associated with violence, vandalism, and instilling fear among local businesses through protests and forceful demands. Businesses in Delmas say they are under siege as a result of politicians and community activists forcing them to fund projects or give them tenders under duress. They say scenes of burning trucks such as these from last month are commonplace in this area, where at any given time, business owners wake up to mobs burning their vehicles to get their attention, putting them under pressure to accede to their financial demands. Mandla Hlachwayo and Thabo Dube are senior members of the People for Radical Economic Transformation. They say they first tried to negotiate for economic inclusion.
We go through the area of engagement first, where we try by all means to engage those affected parties, to try and sit them down, we write them letters, we bring them into meetings and so forth and so forth and so forth. But you find that somewhat in many days very, very difficult, because people, in terms of sitting on a round table and agreeing or having dialogues, they agree to everything. But once you leave the table, they start doing again that what they were doing before that. You wake up in the morning and you hear the quantum coming from Northern Cape is bringing in people to do medicals and so forth. So people exporting, companies exporting people to Delmas is still a huge area to be touched on.
So when Pret has engaged a company and negotiations have failed, what is your next point of action?
Then we take the next step, which is going to protest in the business premises. But it's a very peaceful protest. No things that Pret have done or damaged people's properties and so forth and so forth. We just try and get their attention, because if we are talking to them, they never give us that attention. So we go to them and ask for their attention so that we can solve some issues which are around our location here.
What do you say to some stakeholders who believe that they are being kept hostage in Delmas?
It's easy. If you are going according to the legislation of this country, then there will be no standoffs between you and the affected community. That's my feeling. That's my take.
Pret is accused by local business of holding them to ransom by sometimes demanding payment for unsolicited services or tenders. Many businesses in Delmas prefer to speak off the record for fear of victimization. We caught up with one business manager who showed us this correspondence, which is clearly written on the letterhead of the speaker of the municipality. Pret demands that they pay for driver's licenses for 30 of their members.
They told me that they're representing the community of Ward 6 in Botleng and Delmas, and that they are very unhappy with regards to the fact that they weren't employed, that we didn't follow procedures that suit them and their likes. I've explained to them in a proper but very straight manner that that's not the way to approach any business. If you want to speak to people, then you start firstly by setting up a proper meeting.
They also demanded the building of the youth centre, but because the business was only a few weeks old and didn't have the funds, the person who wrote the letter insinuates a threat of a protest.
And then on the, I think it was the 13th of July, they were back at our premises. Very loud, very demanding, entering the shop area, didn't want to leave the premises. We eventually made use of our a local company, security firm, to assist us. At that present moment, the councillor for Ward 6 also joined in.
Thabo Dube, the Secretary General of Pret in Delmas, denies that they are a violent structure terrorizing businesses.
Pret has one vision of always putting people's lives first. So there are a lot of groupings who are mushrooming in the process. Some of them might go and see an opportunity, identify an opportunity, and they want to occupy that space and use it in terms of looting or in terms of corruption. There were incidents whereby a baki was burnt, and then those people were claiming that Pret burnt the park. But unfortunately enough, from that time the park were burnt, we were having engagements with the local stakeholder. But unfortunately enough, whenever we came to that meeting, we hear that there was this group, the newly formed group, who was saying Pret was here demanding whatsoever they were demanding. I can assure that those were Tsotsis who tried to accumulate the space, and then they saw themselves a potential of being rich overnight.
There are also allegations that the municipality speaker, Kaya Sekgone, is one of the powerful people making direct threats to companies, demanding tenders and other kinds of funding, failing which, he allegedly organizes mobs to disrupt businesses. He is allegedly also aligned to Pret. In this picture, a man purported to be Kaya Sekgone is seen in the vicinity of protest that closed down the Delmas shopping center in September 2017. We made several attempts to get hold of the speaker to afford him the right to respond to these allegations.
The requested number is not available at the moment. Please try again later. The requested number is not available at the moment. Please try again later.
We have tried several times to get hold of the speaker for Delmas amidst allegations that he is part of mobilizing community groups in protest action against the mines. At this stage, he hasn't been available to comment. We also left him text messages. Finally, we managed to get hold of him.
Hello, is that Mr. Sekgone?
Yes.
Hi, sir. My name is Busisi Wentuli. I'm phoning from the SABC at Special Assignment. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm fine, thanks. We've been trying to get hold of you. We are doing a program, and there have been allegations made against you specifically. So we wanted to give you the right to respond to the allegations. So we wanted to check your availability for a television interview.
What right you want to give me?
So we received complaints from some businesses in the Delmas area that...
Wait, just specific which businesses, there are a lot of businesses around Delmas. You must say which company, not those allegations.
Sorry?
You must be specific to say which businesses and what are the allegations.
Okay, we have a right to protect our sources.
I can't comment if you can't tell more again. Can't comment.
No.
Let's cut the long story short. I'm not going to comment on those issues. And in fact, do those questions in writing. Do them in writing, and I'll respond in writing.
Okay, you're not going to be available for a pre-recorded television interview.
I'm not. I can only respond in writing. If you can send those allegations in writing, then I'll respond in writing.
We sent him the questions as requested, asking about his alleged threats and links to Pret, but we had not received his response at the time of editing this program. South Africa is faced with the challenge of ensuring the inclusion of the majority of its citizens into the mainstream economy. The state is accused of having dragged its feet for the past 24 years since the advent of democracy, and young people are losing patience. One of the groups that believes that it is legitimately calling for the economic inclusion of young people in various sectors of the economy is the Practical Radical Economic Transformation, or PRET, but their strategies are seen as antagonistic to business, who fall prey to violent protests which sometimes results in damage to property. Earlier this year, members of PRET blockaded the N12, apparently targeting Eskom and local mines in the Mpumalanga province, demanding employment and local beneficiation from the mines and other industries. Some say that powerful politicians and business people are behind PRET's protests and use the group for their own ends.
You now have, all of a sudden, a mushroom of radical economic transformation forums. And these are run by powerful people who have been able to amass money through some dubious ways. And they blackmail or a business into agreeing to give them tenders, to agreeing to use them as suppliers. And at some point, they even demand to be subcontracted when there's a huge construction company. I mean, we've had a situation where trucks and in one of the areas in the Lowveld where trucks were banned because some of these leaders were mobilizing these communities and demanding that they be subcontracted, when the law is very clear in terms of how you should manage localization in that area, but people get to demand more than that. And they go to an extent of wanting to give you prices.
He says as business, they are aware of the need to speed up economic transformation.
One of the things that we are grappling with is to begin to find each other. And I've at the helm of the chamber, as I've been leading the chamber, was that we need to begin to be closer, much closer to our communities. Because we both, from all the things that are happening in the country, we basically are on the same side. We are the victims, we are the guys that feel the pinch. And when anything happens in the country, it is us with our communities that are feeling the brunt of what is happening. And therefore, we are now in this drive of saying how closer do we get to understand each other with the communities. So we are in the process of a drive, we're pushing a drive of interacting with the community leaders, of interacting with even the political structures to begin to understand what impact their action and our action have in the economy.
The police have been accused of failing to properly deal with the violent protests.
Yeah, well, as police in the province, we want to say there are complaints that we have received from businesses around the Delmas area, which of course we have responded promptly. I must also say that there are a few people that we have arrested. As we speak, they are still going court. All those people that we have arrested. If ever a business is being, tormented, or a business is being, stopped to function well, we call the as police. And what we do is we call manpower when it is necessary and make sure that we stay there, monitor the situation up until the business back to normal. And that's what we do, and we'll continue to do that.
Following the problems experienced with Brett and other groups that sprang up claiming to represent mining communities, the Community Mining Forum was formed in order to combine the more than 50 groups to speak in one voice.
Amongst the community itself, you have so many different groupings which is why you have a need of a forum that must exist, so that we have one point where we're meeting as the community and say we're approaching these mines. Now, from the community's perspective, you have one group that has gone to the mine and protested to the mine. When they shut down that mine immediately, they demand opportunities immediately. That mine, because of lack of systems and people want to operate, they immediately say, yes, there are employment opportunities and business opportunities. Now, what then that does, that gives rise to emergence of new groups, which means if they close you today, if we come as the community, we close you today, you take out opportunities. Then somebody who's sitting in the location, one, they did not know, some of them, that there was going to be that protest, so they did not benefit in that. But they feel that we can't then go and participate in Tabo's group.
But the Mineral Council of South Africa says a lot of these groups do not represent the communities they claim to be serving.
The groupings at the moment are certainly not accountable to the people in Mpumalanga. I think there were a lot of the groups that I've even had to interact with are certainly not accountable to the people of Mpumalanga. I mean, in my office, I had a meeting with one particular grouping that was saying, we want 30% of the mine's procurement. And if you give us that, we'll give you stability. If you don't, we'll give you instability. And so we're coming to what was the Minerals Council, was the Chamber of Mines, and said, yes, you Chamber of Mines, you deliver the 30% of your mining procurement, and we'll provide you that stability. So that's holding us to ransom, and that is taking place.
The mayor of Delmas is concerned about the impact of this instability on investment in the municipality.
It has a very negative impact when it comes to investors, because no one would like to invest in the community where there's instability. What was unfortunate is that in some of these groupings, you'll find some councillors involved there. The municipality was once also a target because we were once shut down. It has a number of negative impact because when we have engagement with investors, you'll find that investors want to come and invest in Delmas because our location, our proximity to Gauteng, our proximity to Yotwane and the city of Joburg, put us on an advantage position in terms of investment. But due to such instabilities, then those investors will then say to us, no, we are no longer investing in the community that is unstable.
Young people like Opa Mtumbeni are genuinely hoping for an escape from poverty. They want the state to have an honest engagement with the private sector so that they too can benefit from the country's economy.
The government ngicabanga ukuthi mayingaya kula makhampani wonke iwabize wonke bese babuza ukuthi njengoba niqashile abantu baseDelmas bayengakhi enibathethe bakhulumisane nabo ukuthi okay sicela ikhampani nekhampani mhlambe maybe thathe 15 yabantu